So Vladimir Putin has a successor problem. Constitutionally, if Putin dies, Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin takes over. But Putin doesn't want that because Mishustin is a technocrat without a strong power base in the security services or the political elite. He was appointed for his economic expertise, not political loyalty, and he lacks deep ties to the Siloviki, who influences Kremlin power struggles. Putin's inner circle, particularly FSB-linked officials like Nikolai Patrushev or military figures like Sergei Shoigu, would likely push for one of their own rather than a bureaucrat with so little control over key power struggles. So Putin would want someone else lined up. But before jumping into guessing who might replace Putin, maybe the real question is, does he even have a plan on stepping down? A lot of analysts, both Russian and Western, believe that Putin will hold on to power until he dies. But I'm not so sure about that, and there's a few key reasons why. First off, no one understands his own systems in Russia better than Putin. His rule is propped up by competing factions, his old KGB pals, longtime friends, and even some of his judo sparring partners. For 25 years, these groups have been locked in a constant struggle for influence, money, and most importantly, Putin's favor. He's acted as the ultimate referee, keeping them all in check. The problem is, this whole system falls apart without Putin. If he dies or even becomes too weak to manage them, these power-hungry factions will turn on each other, and some of them have armies. The longer Putin delays picking a successor, the higher the chance that one of these groups will make a move on their own. And Putin knows this. He saw how quickly chaos can break out when Yevgeny Prigozhin started a mutiny. And the other thing about Soviet/Russian dictators is they tend to seem fine until they unexpectedly have a catastrophic health failure and die. Since World War II, 4 of the last 9 Soviet/Russian leaders have died from a sudden health failure while in office. Were that to happen to Putin, Russia would be completely upended and may even face a civil war. Secondly, it actually makes sense for him to name a successor. That's how he came to power in 2000, and he probably sees that model as a successful one. Thirdly, I think Putin himself is getting tired of the day-to-day presidential grind. He was pictured taking phone calls from little girls as a part of a charity campaign, and he just looked visibly weary and tired of dealing with that crap. His propaganda machine, which is actually the Russian Orthodox Church, and his inner circle have spent years telling him that he's not just a leader, he's this messianic figure that is the father of the nation, destined to restore Russia's greatness. And as a full-blown narcissist, he believes it. As Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov put it, Russia's 3 main advisors are Ivan the Terrible, Peter the Great, and Catherine the Great. As a father of the nation, he's not supposed to be tied down by boring responsibilities of a president. Instead, he should reign from some lofty position handing down wisdom while others handle the daily business of governing. It's more like a pope than a president. This transition likely started back in 2020 when Putin changed the constitution to create a more powerful state council, which is a body that had previously been a useless advisory group, but was suddenly given real authority over Russia's domestic and foreign policy, and they've become quite powerful. And who better to lead this newly empowered institution than Putin himself? He wants control over his successor, but he doesn't want the accountability to voters. And despite all his efforts, the president, even in Russia, is still marginally accountable to voters. He also is likely seeing the efforts to restore Russia to greatness as slipping away, primarily due to his own decisions to invade Ukraine, causing international and domestic pain. But there's also the unavoidable markers for decline that were present already. Poor demographics, lack of a solid tech industry, stagnating fossil fuel demand, and a crumbling infrastructure. He likely does not want to be in charge when those chickens come home to roost and when all of those issues converge into a singular crisis. So it's going to be someone else. Well, who is it going to be? It's definitely going to be someone that still is having their strings pulled by Putin from above. And it has to be someone he trusts completely, someone who won't stab him in the back. The person must be absolutely loyal, treating Putin's word as the gospel. He also can't come from one of the existing power clans, since that would shake up the delicate balance of power within the Kremlin. And then he must have done something significant for Putin personally and for Russia. And then finally, he has to embody the vision of the country Putin is creating. And judging by how Russian kids are being brainwashed from kindergarten to believe in military glory and crushing Ukraine, that vision is a full-blown militaristic dictatorship. Really, there's only one person that fits the bill, and that's Putin's former bodyguard, Alexei Dyumin. Dyumin has been at Putin's side for years, watching over him day in and night, protecting him in the wilderness, and even making sure he didn't drown in the ocean. He's handled Putin's most sensitive assignments and has proven his absolute loyalty. More importantly, Dyumin has the kind of heroic track record that matters to Putin's Russia. In 2014, he led the special operations forces that played a key role in the invasion of Crimea. For this and for helping evacuate Ukraine's ousted pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych, Dyumin was awarded title Hero of Russia. He was also the one who supposedly negotiated with Prigozhin during the Wagner Rebellion, convincing him to turn his forces away from Moscow, essentially saving Putin's ass. And he was likely involved in Prigozhin's death. In May of 2024, Putin appointed Dyumin as Secretary of the State Council that I just spoke about, placing him in one of the highest positions in the regime. According to former FSB officers, many within Russia's security services see Dyumin as the clear frontrunner to take over. Not only is he a loyalist, but he's also a colonel general in the military, so he has that militarized image that Putin really likes, and he just seems to be in a better position than other people. Now, there have been other names that have been floated, like Sergei Kiriyenko, who is a high-ranking Kremlin official. There's been Boris Kovalchuk, who's the son of one of Putin's closest oligarch friends, and also Dmitry Patrushev, who is the son of the former head of Russia's Security Council. But none of those seem likely. For one, they lack Dyumin's credentials and loyalty. Some have even fallen out of favor. After the Wagner Rebellion, Nikolai Patrushev was demoted to an irrelevant role overseeing shipbuilding, which says a lot. And besides that, dictators like Putin don't just hand over power to people's kids, especially those that are spoiled rich kids. He actually prizes bootstrapping. So what does this all mean for Russia's future? Well, most likely we're looking at a two-man rule situation. Putin rules as the father of a nation, sitting on his throne, and Dyumin is the hero general running the country in his name. And together they won't be leading Russia towards peace or prosperity. They'll be preparing for yet another war because at this point, that's all they have left to offer. And with Dyumin being only 52 years old and a Putin disciple, the Russia we're seeing right now will likely continue for decades more.